Ranking all fabricated beasties in Leviathan. Warning. This video assumes you are already familiar with the setting of Scott Westerfeld's Leviathan series, as I'm using in-universe terms and references without explaining them. You don't necessarily have to read the books and or watch the anime, but you need to at least know about the universe. I might link stuff that explains it, but prior knowledge is best. Anyway, back to the video. Hello. I was originally going to make a rant video about the Leviathan anime, where I compare it to the books and say how it's not as good. But no matter how many times I rewrote that script, I was never satisfied. So I decided to do top 10 lists of the fabricated beasties instead. One about the top 10 coolest beasties and one about the top 10 creepiest ones. But there was a lot of repetition between those two, so I decided to just rank every single one of them. Or at least the ones I could find on the fandom wiki, and or remember from the top of my head. It's been a while since I read the books. Also, to further avoid repetition, I decided to combine a few of them into shared entries. This allowed me to keep the list in a nice even 20 entries. So I guess it's a top 20 after all. So without further ado, let's get to the list. Number 20. Now just because I put something last, doesn't mean it's bad or I don't like it. I rank these animals based on how impressed I am by them. The awe factor, I guess. And though all fabricated beasties have that to some extent, the glowworms have it the least. They are worms. They do glow. That's kinda it. They are used as lanterns to illuminate places where flames could be a fire hazard. That's kinda cool. And indeed more practical than other fabrications further up the list. Just not as impressive as what's to come. Number 19. Okay, I completely forgot about this entity until making this list. Which is funny because it's perhaps the most out there of them all. I'm not even sure what it was called, so I'll just call it the neuron. Basically, it's this world's transatlantic telegraph cable. But because it was made by Darwinists, it's made of a living neuron instead. I said before that some of the beasties aren't practical, and this is the prime example. And the reason is speed. The fastest neurons can transmit information at about 200 meters per second. A regular cable, made of wire, transmits at the speed of light, 299792458 meters per second. That is a big difference. And I get that biological technology is the Darwinists' whole stick, but you don't have to take it that far. Just like how they would make their houses out of bricks and stones instead of flesh and organs. I guess the neurons are harder to intercept, but there should be a better way to go about it. That being said, it is still a very impressive piece of engineering. Which is why I put it above the glowworms, despite thinking it's less practical. Number 18. Following the trend of fabrications that are more at home in Scorn or the Alien movies, we got the compress. As the name suggests, this is a medical fabrication. Designed to wrap around a wound and repair the injury with its fleshy tendrils. Doesn't get more biopunk than this. And yes. People keep arguing about whether or not the Leviathan trilogy is steampunk or diesel punk. This trilogy is biopunk. The compress did appear in the anime, but much like everything else, its gross aspects were removed to make it more kid-friendly or something. Thereby ripping what little personality this critter had. Number 17. Speaking of personality, we're finally moving to the more interesting and unique beasties. The ones that can be instantly recognized as being from the Leviathan trilogy. And the lowest ranking of those, is the two-headed eagle. This is part of what I've dubbed the novelty pets. Beasties with somewhat unique gimmicks that would make interesting pets. The two-headed eagle is a custom-made message/package delivery fabrication used by the Romanov family. Being bigger than a message turn, more on those later, it can carry small objects as well as messages. And it is a badass eagle. So why is it so low? Well, I don't really like two-headed animals. It's bad for the animal, and making one to look that way on purpose feels wrong. No matter how thematic or symbolic it may be. Number 16. Our first tie on the list, and the first mention of air beasts in this video. This spot is shared by the Huxley and the manta cutter. I really thought these critters would be higher up the list. They are aquatic animals, made by a jellyfish and a manta ray respectively, that have been engineered to breathe air and carry people in the sky. Hence the term air beasts. Thing is, they don't even fly. The manta cutter can't even produce its own hydrogen. Instead, it's basically an obligate cyborg, requiring hydrogen bags and propellers to be strapped on it in order to even take off. Yes, it was made by a country that uses both animals and machines, but we rank them based on the animal aspect. Which in the case of the manta cutter just sits there while the mechanical parts do all the work. The Huxley on the other hand, can produce its own hydrogen, making it basically a single passenger hydrogen balloon that's also a jellyfish. That makes it cooler than the manta cutter in regards to what it can do, but less interesting in what it is. Air jellyfish are a really cool concept, sure, but I've seen it in quite a few other works of fiction and slash or spekivo already. So it's not exactly unique to Leviathan. A cyborg manta ray with machine guns on its back that flies around in the sky though? Where else have you seen that? Number 15. I'm gonna be real with you here, I did not care about the perspicacious loris. At least not as much as the author wanted me to. It's certainly a great novelty pet, but I can't see it as the super important thing that will change everything by existing. The books also don't explain what it does all that well. They say it's perspicacious, which is a word I've literally only ever heard in the series of books used to describe this loris. Maybe I'm uncultured IDK. And the things we see it do are all things other animals in the series are also known to do. Like memorizing and repeating phrases when it thinks it's appropriate, as well as recognizing and bonding with people. In perhaps the only such instance, I prefer the anime version of the loris over the book version. In the anime, the loris is basically a biological computer. A rudimentary computer cause it's 1914, but one that can do calculations faster and more accurately than a person. That is brilliant. It's a very simple concept to understand, and it explains why the loris is such an important piece of new cutting-edge technology, the existence of which can change the course of the war and history as a whole. We know what computers are, and we know how drastically they can impact society. That is something I can get behind. My only nitpick with this version is that it looks even less like a loris than the book version. But hey, you've seen the anime's other designs. What were the chances? After hearing all that, you might think I hate the poor critter. I don't. In fact, I quite like it. I ranked it higher than the manta cutter and the compress cause I thought it was cooler. And I'd love to have one as a pet, assuming it fares better than actual lorises. I just don't get the hype. Like, I think it's just really good, instead of the best thing since the discovery of life threads. Anyway, let's move on. Number 14. This one's another tie. And it's novelty pets that I'd love even more to have as pets. The message lizard, the memory frog, and the message tern. The communication trio, if you will, as they're all about recording and slash or transmitting information. The memory frog is basically a living tape recorder, capable of memorizing entire conversations and repeating them on command. Being a bullfrog though, it mostly sits around and waits for people to carry it. The message tern cannot record information but can carry messages across vast distances, even across oceans. The message lizard is sort of a halfway point between the other two. It can memorize and repeat a message of one or few sentences, and travel relatively short distances in order to deliver it. I love all three concepts, especially the message lizards. And I don't understand why giving their ability to a new fabrication designed to be a pet was better than just breeding one of those to be a better companion animal. Also, I'm someone who spends way too long on social media, so having a pet that can send text or voice messages to others would be extra cool. Number 13. What's even cooler than a strange exotic pet you can carry around with you? A strange exotic pet that carries you around, of course. So this is the next type of beasties. The novelty mounts. These two are ranked all over the place, with the lowest one being the hippo-esque. I would have ranked it a lot higher, along with other mounts perhaps. But I don't know a single thing about it. I remember it being name-dropped in the books, but not appearing or being described. I can deduce from the name and context that they are massive mutated hippos, but not much other than that. Were they war beasts? Were they transportation? I assume so. The suffix esque seems to suggest that, if other fabrications are any indication. Whatever the case though, they must still be very impressive animals. You've already seen what regular hippos can do. Now imagine if they were genetically engineered to be much bigger and tougher. There's no way that thing wouldn't leave me in awe if I were to see it. Number 12. Similar to the previous entry, but with more things known about them, this spot is a tie between the elephantine and the tigeresque. Tigers' Ks are used as guard dogs, as well as mounts and for pulling carriages. The name implies that they are mostly derived from tigers, but depending on the breed they can include anything from wolf to Smilodon genes. Oh, by the way, in this world, the Darwinists have recreated extinct animals. Just in case you thought they weren't cool enough already. The elephantines are a similar situation but with elephants. They too come in various sizes, with the larger ones being as big as a land dreadnought according to the wiki. And while historically elephants have been used as a status symbol by the elite, these beasties are also used as trucks and buses, carrying people and cargo in bulk like the brachiosauruses in Dinotopia. And yes, they too have a prehistoric subspecies, called Mammothine. They are even bigger than the regular elephantines and can carry even more things, but can't handle hot climates very well. I imagine something like the war mammoth from Warhammer Fantasy, but civilian. Do I even need to explain how awesome this is? Number 11. Though a lot smaller in size, the hydrogen sniffer makes up for in overall weirdness. A literal wolf spider, this beastie has 6 legs that allow it to climb on most surfaces, and a double-barreled snout that allows it to locate the direction of a smell with great precision. And in case the name didn't give it away already, they are meant to detect the smell of hydrogen. Airships, be it biological or technological, use hydrogen to stay aloft. And you really don't want a leak on one of those. So the hydrogen sniffer is designed to skitter around the various surfaces of the vehicle, sniffing for leaks. Practical, yet wonderfully bizarre at the same time. Number 10. Here we've got perhaps the creepiest fabricated beastie in my opinion. More than the beasties that eat people. More than the H.R. Geiger-style living wearables. And it doesn't even appear anywhere in the franchise, as far as I remember. It is only name-dropped once. But that was enough for me to justify calling them the creepiest. 2 words. Monkey, butlers. That's all the books say about them. Now I don't think I need to explain why this is so creepy, but I will anyway. First of all, I've heard enough pet monkey horror stories to go nope at the sound of the idea. But second of all, I also have a suspicion that the monkey's body wasn't the only thing that was genetically altered. I worry that the brain was altered too, in order to make the monkey better at what is essentially a human job. And I can only think of one way as for how that can happen. So, yeah. Make what you will with this information. Number 9. Let's change the pace a little bit and talk about another mount. I rank the fighting bull this much higher than most other mounts for a simple reason. This thing can fight, hence the name. Imagine a historical war elephant, except it's a bull. Same size as an Asian elephant, same carrying capacity, same charging capabilities. As for why they are bulls, they were created by Mexico, and also they might be able to run faster and for longer than an elephant. Imagine going to battle and there's an elephant-sized bull, with metal-tipped horns, and a platform with Gatling guns on its back. That would be really awesome if you deploy it, and really scary if the enemy deploys it. Number 8. And back to the disgusting H.R. Geiger fabrications, we have the Spottiswoode rebreather. The best way I can describe this thing is a reverse face hugger. In that it attaches to your mouth and feeds on your carbon dioxide while providing you with oxygen. As you can probably imagine, it's used as diving equipment. Along with a wetsuit made of fish fins and salamander skin. Not leather, skin. Because if it ain't slimy and gross, it ain't biopunk. This particular fabrication was done especially dirty by the anime, as it was basically reduced to a slightly weird-looking oxygen tank with a much shorter duration. But I said this won't be a rant video, so I'll move on. Number 7. I was debating whether to make these two different entries or just one. I decided on a tie because I wanted to get to 20, and because I think strafing hawks and flechette bats have more similarities than differences. Both are swarms of flying creatures used in war. Flechette bats in particular are one of the most disrespectful things I've ever read about. As the name suggests, they throw flechettes at people. But the way they do is by being fed fruit that have flechettes inside them, digest the fruit, and letting the flechettes go through their digestive system like seeds. Imagine falling in battle by having literal crap thrown at you. Truly a weapon only a species of ape could design. Strafing hawks are straight up terrifying. They can wield different weapons depending on the occasion, so they have an anti-personnel mode and an anti-aircraft mode. The anti-personnel mode is them wearing steel talon, gauntlets basically, which they use to go full on Hitchcock's birds on enemy soldiers. Their anti-aircraft mode are metal wires, which they use to break aircrafts apart. For context, this is a WW-1 plane, human for scale. And this is a hawk, human for scale. This thing can take down this thing. Number 6. There's a quote by Mikey Ias in Geek Wars Episode 7, Giant Robots vs Giant Monsters, that perfectly summarizes my thoughts on the Leviathan trilogy's two warring factions. Monsters tap into humanity's most primordial fear. Robots will never have that. It's one thing if it wants to destroy or conquer you, and another thing altogether if it wants to eat you. That is why I consider Darwinist fabricated beasties cooler than clanker machines, and that's why I consider the fighting bear to be the best mount. All other mounts are impressive and intimidating, some can even fight. But this one can, and does, eat people. There's a part in the third book where an expedition is stranded in the Siberian wilderness, and the people had to kill all other beasties, including their whale, so that the bears will have enough food to not go after them. And it is implied that those left to wander off would eventually be drawn to human villages because they are too big to get enough food in the wild. The pure dread of this could make for a horror story all of its own. Also, according to the book, those bears are, and I quote, the size of houses. So even if we're talking huts, they would be on par with large theropod dinosaurs. Number 5. Following the trend of man-made horrors that are confirmed to eat people, the kappa is one of the coolest monsters I've seen in any work of fiction. It looks like an ambulocetus if it was a medieval sea monster. And with this guy, eating enemy soldiers isn't an afterthought. It's the main feature. It was created to eradicate the sailors of enemy vessels, while leaving them intact so they can be claimed and used by the Japanese Navy. And they were deployed in groups, in the following strategy. A whole bunch of kappas are dropped from pods into the water near an enemy ship. They swim towards it. They run up its smooth, vertical, concave sides. They reach the deck. And reenact that scene from Aliens. All while looking like the unholy love child of a crocodile and a dolphin. Number 4. Taking a break from the man-eaters, we got the most unassuming superweapon of these books. The vitriolic barnacle. And that's by design. They are supposed to look like regular barnacles, except they produce a corrosive substance that can dissolve metal. This little innovation was able to do more for the war than even the mightiest of war beasts. Spoilers for Book 2, Behemoth. The Ottoman Empire has a special underwater net in the Strait of Bosporus, designed to entangle and wound the krakens that might try to pass through. These barnacles were placed at random spots along those nets, far enough apart so they could reproduce and spread, eating away at the net in the process. Even if somebody investigates for evidence of sabotage, nobody would be able to tell it was a few specific barnacles out of the hundreds of seemingly identical ones. Goes to show you that just like in real life, the best bioweapons are not massive kaiju, but tiny invisible infestations. Number 3. Okay, the top 3 are gonna show just how biased I am, but IDC. It's my list about how much I like these things. So what takes the third spot? How about dinosaurs? Yes, dinosaurs are mentioned in the books. Well, kinda. There's a part where Alec worries about what other fabricated beasties might be out there, and recalls a rumor he heard about the Darwinists using genetic engineering to bring back extinct prehistoric reptiles. Yeah, that's pretty far from confirmed, but let's entertain this possibility. Mammoths were brought back and even turned into multiple domestic breeds. Why wouldn't dinosaurs be a logical next step? Also, since genetic engineering in this timeline was discovered in the Victorian era, I imagine them looking like those very early, very inaccurate reconstructions. This is cool and you can't convince me otherwise. Number 2. What's the only thing scarier than a monster that can board your ship and eat you? A monster that can destroy your ship and eat you, of course. For that reason, the Kraken and the Behemoth share the second place. To put things into perspective, this is what a WW1 battleship looks like. And this, invertebrate, can just pull it apart with its tentacles like it's nothing. The Behemoth is essentially a bigger, armored version of the Kraken. With bony plates and a sandworm-like toothed maw. This creature is so objectively cool that it's not scientifically possible to make uncool, no matter the version. The one from the anime looks like something out of Subnautica's deeper biomes, while the one from the book looks like something out of a nightmare. There's even a scene where the characters watch a shadow theater play with a scene where a man on a boat is being attacked by a behemoth-like fabrication, and even that looks terrifying. Though that's probably for what it implies. This is a world where mad scientists have created real-life giant sea monsters for the sole purpose of devouring their enemies, and that's so normalized that people just accept it as a part of life. It's messed up in the best possible way, and I love it. Number 1. How could anything other than the Leviathan itself be on the top of this list? While the previous entry had an entire book named after it, this one has the whole series, nay, the whole setting named after it. Whales are cool. Rigid airships are cool. Cyborgs are cool. Genetically engineered life forms that form their own ecosystem are cool. But to be all of those at once is literally awesome. Where most other fabrications invoke fear, this one invokes awe and wonder. And yes, technically there's many air beasts of this type, so I guess this entry is for all of them. But the Leviathan is the one we get to spend the most time with and get to know. We literally get to see it inside and out. From the bees that synthesize the honey that fuels it, to the bacteria that produces the hydrogen that keeps it afloat, to the whale that forms its body. From the cilia and color-changing skin in its outer surface, to the literal bowels. We get to see how it works, how it behaves, how it fights, how it lives. That's it. I don't know what more I can say. I mean, I do know. I can babble about every little detail regarding this marvel of genetic engineering, but this video is already the longest I've ever made by a lot. And I do want to avoid making it any longer than necessary. I will say one more thing before closing, however. I'm usually making these videos for myself, but this time I might share it with the fandom, as I want to have this discussion. If you watch this and decide it's trash, either due to quality or my opinions, see it as an opportunity. Go on and make your own videos about this topic. The way you want. I can barely edit, I use PNGs because my drawings are terrible, and I can't record my voice at all for various reasons. There is no way you can't clear the bar I've set. And once you've made those videos, please share them somewhere I can watch them. I want such videos to exist, which is why I made one. Thanks for watching and goodbye.